Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're finally moving past all that vague AI hype we hear every day, and we're diving into concrete, hard data. We're going to look at how artificial intelligence is actually impacting our daily work and really the broader economy as a whole.
We've got a great roadmap for this explainer today. We'll start with the productivity puzzle, then look at measuring AI with AI. Check out task-by-task savings, explore the macroeconomic boom, discuss the new bottlenecks we face, and wrap up with the impending structural shift. All right, let's jump right into section 1, the productivity puzzle. This is literally the exact puzzle that every professional and business leader is scrambling to solve right now.
I mean, we all hear that AI is incredibly fast, right? But to understand its real economic impact, we need to ask a very specific question. Exactly how much time does it shave off our daily grind? We need to measure the actual minutes and hours saved, not just guess based on random anecdotes.
And that brings us to section 2, measuring AI with AI. To find a concrete answer to that question, we're turning to a fascinating new report from Anthropic that uses a completely brilliant methodology.
So instead of relying on narrow, controlled lab studies, the researchers did something really clever. First, they sampled 100,000 real-world conversations with Claude. Second, they literally had the AI model itself estimate how long those exact same tasks would take a human to complete completely unassisted. And third, they matched that data to official occupational codes and Bureau of Labor Statistics wage data to figure out the actual economic value.
Now you might be wondering, can we actually trust an AI to estimate human work time? Well, researchers validated this exact method against real software developer data from Jira tickets, and it turns out the model's estimates correlated incredibly well with reality, proving it's actually a super solid directional tool for tracking these changes.
Okay, now that we understand how they got the numbers, let's move to section 3, task-by-task savings, and break down what this actually looks like on the ground.
The data here reveals a really fascinating divide. On one hand, people are using AI for highly complex management and legal tasks that would normally take nearly 2 hours, costing roughly $119 to $133 in human labor. But on the other hand, compare that to lower-wage routine tasks like food prep or maintenance questions. Those take just about 30 minutes and cost maybe $8 to $11 in labor.
But here is the absolute crucial takeaway across all of those varying tasks. Based on this massive sample of 100,000 real-world chats, the model estimates a staggering 80% median reduction in task completion time. 80%!
And looking at the data visually, there's this crystal clear upward trend. You can see a very strong correlation between high-wage occupations and the sheer time-consuming complexity of the tasks they're handing off to AI. Basically, management and legal professionals are offloading deeply complex, multi-hour jobs and getting just immense leverage from the technology.
When you break it down, the individual task efficiency gains are honestly staggering. Take a vocational education teacher, for example. They can save up to 96% of their time, taking a 4.5-hour curriculum development task and slashing it down to essentially a coffee break, about 11 minutes. Or look at social science research assistants, who are saving 91% of their time when prepping summary reports. It's a total game changer.
So let's move on to section 4, the macroeconomic boom. We need to see how these microscopic time savings actually build up across the entire economy.
If we zoom all the way out and use standard economic models to aggregate these task-level gains across the entire U.S. economy over the next decade, assuming full adoption, of course, we hit this absolute bombshell of a figure, an implied 1.8% increase in annual labor productivity growth. To put that 1.8% into perspective, historically speaking, adding that to U.S. labor productivity would essentially double the growth rate we've seen since 2019. We're talking about potentially returning to the historic roaring boom levels of the late 90s, or even the golden eras of the 1960s and 70s.
But, and this is a big but, this economic boom isn't distributed evenly at all. The data shows us exactly who is driving this growth. Software developers alone are driving nearly a fifth, 19%, of this total projected productivity gain. Following them, we've got general and operations managers at 6%, market research analysts at 5%, and customer service reps at 4%.
Now, as thrilling as those big macroeconomic numbers are, it's time for section 5, the new bottlenecks, because we really need a reality check on how work actually gets done.
To understand this, we have to talk about bottleneck tasks. These are the essential parts of a job where AI gives you absolutely no speed up.
And because the other parts of your job just got way faster, these unaccelerated tasks start taking up a much larger, much more constraining chunk of your day. Think about it like this. If you use AI to instantly write up a home inspection report, that's fantastic, but you still have to physically drive across town to actually look at the house. That commute, that just became your massive new bottleneck.
When we look closely at how AI reshapes our time within specific jobs, we see it effortlessly handling things like writing code or drafting lesson plans. But it absolutely cannot physically supervise junior engineers, and it definitely can't moderate a heated classroom discussion or enforce behavior rules among students.
It's actually kind of ironic, isn't it? The very software engineers who are building these AI systems can save up to 86% of their time developing and testing code, but they save exactly 0% of their time when it comes to supervising colleagues or coordinating physical system installations. The human element of the job, that remains completely fixed.
And that brings us perfectly to our final part, Section 6, Structural Shift. Here, we really need to question the long-term reality and the limits of this whole technological boom.
There's this brilliant quote from economists Aghion, Jones, and Jones that perfectly captures the problem. They said, "Growth may be constrained not by what we're good at, but rather by what is essential and yet hard to improve." Ultimately, the ceiling of our economic growth isn't dictated by how incredibly fast an AI can write an email. It's actually dictated by how we handle those essential, physical, human tasks that the AI simply can't touch.
We also need to be totally honest about the limitations of this data. First off, these AI models tend to overestimate the time it takes for short tasks and underestimate the really long ones. Second, AI doesn't account for the hours you spend outside the chat window, painstakingly double-checking its work to make sure it didn't hallucinate anything. And most importantly, if you look at history, true productivity miracles, like the invention of electricity or the internet, didn't come from just doing the exact same tasks a little bit faster. They required deeply, fundamentally reorganizing how businesses operate.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a rather provocative thought to take back to your team. Look closely at your own workflows. Are you and your organization merely speeding up old tasks, or are you structurally preparing for the future? Basically, are you just doing the exact same things, just a little bit faster, or are you getting ready to completely restructure how you work to actually harness this revolution?